Hello and welcome to For Teachers. Today we are going to be doing a very special video. We're going to be looking back on our own teaching from when we were young.
We saw this video tag online. It was by the channels Emerging Educator, Diary of a Mad Black Teacher and Naturally Nyani, who I've linked down below in the description. They created a tag video called the Back in the Day Teacher Tag, and we thought it'd be really exciting just to find out a bit more about each other, about what we were like as children and how that's kind of changed the way that we teach children today.
Okay, so go for it. What's question number one?
Okay, so question number one is, what grade do you currently teach and where did you go to school? Is it in the same place that you went to school as a child?
Yeah, we talk about this all the time, so it's really different. So at the moment, we both work in year 3 in Hong Kong. So next year I'm going to work in year 5 and you're going to be in year 3.
Yeah, same year 3 again. Good old year 3.
Okay. And so is it different to where you went to school? I guess it's a big difference.
Okay, I went to school in Altrincham in Manchester, if anyone's familiar with the area. It was a great school. It was 3 form entry, quite a big school for back in the day, probably quite...
3 form entry is big, really.
3 form entry is big anyway.
Yeah, in the UK, certainly. That's similar to mine. So mine was like 2 form entry, but it was different. So it was in Chesterfield, and all like year 3s and year 4s would be in the same class together. And then so you'd have a year as year 3 with the one teacher, and then you'd stay with that teacher for another year as year 4. But half the class would have moved up, and then you're now the older half of the class.
So did you have the same teacher for 2 years?
Yeah, I think so. So in primary school, I think I only had like 4 teachers.
Question number 2 is, who were your most and least influential teachers in school? So was there anyone that stands out as like a really, really good teacher that inspired you? I think most of mine came in high school rather than primary. Maybe back in the day it was a bit more like you would be taught a lesson, then you would sit at your table and do it, whereas I feel like we as teachers spend a bit more time with the children, like integrated with them. Yeah,
I don't know if that's just like a sea change or that's just how it was, but I think, yeah, definitely my lessons were kind of like, right, it's all on the board and it would all be written in chalk.
Just copying it out nicely.
So the teacher would have already wrote it on a chalkboard, which was like a rolly board. So
yeah, we had a chalkboard.
Yeah, so like the first like 4 lessons of the day would all be written up in chalk.
You just copy them.
And Miss would just be like, here it is. Copy it down into your book, and you copy it in your best handwriting in your book, or you write a story. I think it's just very different back then. Do you think your teacher's watching For Teachers right now?
If any of my teachers are watching For Teachers, please reach out and contact us. I'd love to speak to you. Love to find out more about what we were like as children and that kind of thing.
Did you ever go back to that school?
See, I went back to do some placement work before I started teaching. So I did go back to my old school, and there was a few familiar faces, but mostly it's just changed completely.
And did they recognise you?
Weirdly, when I started working, I used to have a job as a party hostess for children. While I was working, one of my old teachers was there, and I went over thinking she would never recognise me. I introduced myself, I was like, hi, you won't remember me, but I was in your class for year 6. And she straight away, she was like, yeah, you're Katie, I remember you.
Oh,
I was like,
sweet.
oh, right, okay.
I'm really bad with names anyway. I don't think I'd remember anyone coming up to me and saying you were my teacher.
Yeah, Ryan's ex-students in the future, he'll just be like,
I think all my kids have nicknames, so I'll probably remember their nicknames more.
When you're in primary school, who are your friends or like frenemies or rivals? That's what the question says.
Rival?
So I guess I'm going to take it as...
That's Pokemon.
Who is your rival?
Gary.
Gary is always my rival.
Go on, you start then. Who is your friend? Who's your best friend?
My best friend in primary school, I had one when I was lower, but she left and I was really lonely for a couple of months. And then I
think that happens all the time, actually.
Yeah, she just was taken out of school and never came back, but didn't even like tell me she was going, so I was just waiting around for her and saving her. I like saved her a desk every day, and the teachers were just sort of like, oh, is it time to move on yet? I met a friend called Emily or I guess it feels strange saying.
Do I know?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's insane. So how long have you been friends?
Well, since year 3, so...
A long time.
Like 20 years.
Wow, that's so cool.
Over. Yeah, I was her maid of honour last year, so a friend that I made in year 3 I still see a lot. That's and actually cute. That links really well to my frenemies, because there was a girl who joined our class late, and I remember like Em was sort of paired up with her, like buddied up with her, like look after this new girl, and we didn't get on very well. I think we had like a fight over, we were like throwing glue at each other or something, and we both had to stay in and like wash up, as that was our punishment, like we had to stay and wash the art pots.
Oh yeah.
What about you? Do you still see anyone from primary school?
Yeah, so we're currently, this is in my mum's house back in my hometown, and I can actually see, if I look through the window over there, that is my friend's house. So I still have my 2 best friends that I used to hang out in primary school, Mark and Amber, and I see them all the time when I'm back home, but like we don't get to see each other much because I'm always in Hong Kong with you. But it's nice to catch up and it's nice to see them. Yeah, it's just nice to think about, yeah, we knew each other way back when. So me and Mark were in the very first class together. We weren't best friends from the outset, like we would Like, as I said, because we had this weird system where you'd kind of stay with the class and
So you'd
then
be
miss
with
the
them for
class.
half of the time?
No, we were in the same age group, but we were never, in fact, never ever did we have the same class teacher.
Oh.
And then we got to high school, we were in the same form, and it was like, oh, we've
Hello
always
again.
just kind of circled around each other and never really like met. So that was really nice, and then we became besties. I don't think I really had any rivals. I think like for me it was more like, oh, I've got my friends and that's it.
Yeah.
Like I think like there was a whole class.
Everyone
and the
was
classes
okay.
seemed like massive as well because we had like 30 odd
More,
people, maybe
I
even
think.
32, 34
Yeah.
kids. So I feel like there was a whole bunch of people that I was like, this is my best friend, I'm just gonna stay with
Yeah.
them. Maybe, so like academically I felt like I was really strong, so I felt like I didn't have any rival like, ooh, I'm trying to
were
be
you
like
top of the
teacher's
class?
pet. Yeah, I felt like I was.
I was like top for English and not for maths. I think when I was in year 4, they grouped us into planets, so I was in like Saturn.
Pluto, furthest away from the teacher.
Do you reckon it was done like that?
Yes. Where were you, Saturn?
I was Saturn.
Saturn's nice, isn't it? Well, it depends how many groups there
No,
was.
like I was Saturn group for maths or something, and then I was like blue group for English. But back in the day, I'm not sure I always understood what that meant. I think
Okay,
maybe
yeah.
these days kids are a bit more aware if they're in the low group.
Yeah, actually, I always think about that because I feel like, because there were so many kids in our class, the table layouts, like there was not many options really when we were little. It was
Yeah.
like literally you just sit in squares. The teachers would always put like us with the same people because it's kind of like you're the bright bunch, you'll be fine, you can get away at the back of the class on your own, but kind of the ones who were a bit more weaker would have to sit near the front.
Yeah, I
the
think that
troublemakers
was
sit
it.
near the teacher. And I think teaching assistants have changed a lot as well because we always used to have maybe no teaching assistant.
We didn't have any.
But there'd be people who were like one-to-one support workers.
Yeah.
And they'd be like sat with just one person in class.
What was your favourite and least favourite subject in school?
Okay, favourite, I think we both really like art.
Yeah, we were both really into art
We
and
like
design.
drawing and design and graphics.
Always
and
drawing,
cartooning. and
computers.
anything like that. Yeah, computing was strange. So when I
Did
was
you
at
have
school,
it?
yeah, we had the very first like school computers were the BBC computers.
Yeah.
You couldn't do anything. You could kind of turn it on and it was green screen, and then it was kind of like, right, you can just do a bit of typing, and here's a floppy disk. Like, put it in, lock the disk in so it doesn't fall out, and then like it would whir up, and by then you'd kind of finished, so you were done.
Yeah, the only computing lessons that I remember, there was like 2 that stand out. One was we'd use a program called Dazzle.
I don't know.
It
that
was
one.
like an early Microsoft Paint, and all you could do
Ooh.
was just like get this like
Sparkle
airbrush, and
brush.
you could just like draw like shapes and then erase them, and that was it. But it was the best.
Yeah.
And another one that we did, it was like a really basic like website creator, but I mean so basic you could drag a picture of like, I remember doing a Vikings project, probably with Em actually, this girl I mentioned. We were dragging like a picture of the Vikings, and then we made him like say it, like a speech bubble would pop up, but that was I guess it's early coding in a sense. 'cause-
Yeah. We didn't have the internet when I was at school.
Really?
No, in the 80s.
I don't know if I got it from the internet though. I think it came with like
Oh,
a
a
pack.
package.
Yeah, I think it was like a clip art pack, and put the floppy disk in. We did have a floppy disk, and download the image of the Viking, and then get him to say something. So it's like an if then. It is like early coding, right?
Yeah.
If you click the Viking, he will say welcome. We thought it was hilarious. We thought it was like the best lesson ever.
Go on then, what was the flip then? What
Oh,
was
the
your
flip would
worst?
be least.
Yeah, your least one.
You know mine.
What was maths?
Yeah, I think I was in yellow group in my final year, and that was like the group that was taken out for interventions.
Oh yeah.
I used to just mess around. I really didn't want to be in the intervention group. I hated like being taken out, and I hated like extra support, even though it was supposed to be really good for you. Like I hated
Do you
it.
think that stays with you forever? Because I'm thinking about our kids now. When they go out for intervention groups, you think, wow, I'm doing really great by these kids because they're getting so much extra work. But do you think the stigma attached to it still?
Yeah, because it stuck with me. I was like so aware of how bad I was at maths, and I remember my mum like would always say like, oh, she gets it from me. I'm not very good at maths either, and I just like assumed I was terrible, and there was no cure for this, so I couldn't ever get better. And actually now I'm quite a good maths teacher. Like I really love teaching maths. I think the children make really good progress in my lessons. So
Maybe you like appreciate that there's different ways, or you
Yeah.
need to explain things in different ways. You know what? My math lessons, I feel like there was very little teaching. It was very much like, here's a textbook and work through it in your own
And learn.
pace. And you would just work your way through it. And literally, like, that was how we were grouped in class. It was kind of like, we didn't change throughout the day. I think it was just pretty much you sat in your math seats all day. And I guess if you didn't understand the book, then you would go and ask for help, maybe. But
I think there's more problem solving these days, isn't there? There's more like,
Yeah.
if you don't understand, there's ways around it, as opposed to just keep going until it makes sense.
did you have a trundle stick?
Yeah, we had trundle stick.
Yeah.
I think, no, do you know what? I think we probably did have a lot of resources. I think I was just so panicky in those lessons and dreading them. Like as soon as it was maths time, I was just like, oh no, like slide
awful
to
feeling,
the
isn't it?
back,
Yeah.
like hide your face, don't make eye contact. What advice would you give to yourself at that age? Why would you care if like the coolest person in the class likes you or not? I know that it's such a big deal for kids, but I was never like unpopular. I was just sort of like,
you're not the coolest person.
No, I was just sort of like middle, I think. I was like, I had some friends, I had some little cliques. I would always idolise like the coolest kids in the class and think like, wow, I wonder what it's like to be them. Probably no different really, just a few more people to choose at playtime.
Yeah, I feel like I was just not bothered about other kids at school. I was just
really?
I just want to go and do my work. And I think for me, the thing that always gets to me is like more like when I got to high school. Like you said, I always felt like I was in top set maths. And I just kind of presumed, oh, I'm in top set and I'm really good at maths, so I'm gonna get like A stars in everything.
But you didn't?
No, and then I was kind of like, and nobody in the whole school got anything like above a B. And I was kind of like, oh, like, well, why haven't you been teaching us the A star material?
Okay. Hello again.
Hey. So yeah, so I think it's like on a student to get those extra grades and figure it out. But I was just kind of like, wow, and we're the top guys in this whole school and we never got any of the higher grades. It was kind of like, you know when the papers are split?
Yeah, I think we had a similar thing where it was like capped at a certain grade.
Yeah.
And you could opt in to take the higher, but you had to learn the stuff almost like yourself. I don't know.
Yeah, we kind of had that. So yeah, like I think there's some papers that are like, oh, you can only get a maximum C, but this will be an easier paper for you to get.
Yeah, that was the one I did.
And then like there's like the middle people are like, well, take the easier paper and you'll get the C, and then the harder paper's kind of like, oh, this is only grades B to A star. And
so that's
kind of
what
like,
you did.
And he's like, oh, I did the harder paper and got the B. It's like,
Actually, this next question we've kind of covered already, but it's what was your personality like at that age and have you changed? I've not changed at all.
Oh.
I had a lot of energy and a lot of like ideas and creativity and imagination. Like I was a bit maybe overwhelming for teachers, to be fair, because I was probably that kid that was like, had like a really creative idea, but it was a bit different and a bit strange. And I remember that we did like puppets. We had to make, it was like a little, like you could make a clown with like a head and it was a puppet, you could hold it up and you stitched it. And I was like, no, I want mine to be a dog, so I want it to be like landscape and you hold it this way and the head goes on the end like this and the legs come down. I remember the teacher just being like, ugh. Like,
just do it the way everyone
she was like,
else
but then we'll have to change the pattern. And I was like, don't worry, I'll figure it out, I know a way. And she's like, ugh. So I did do it in the end. It was really cool in the end. I did manage to work it out, but that was like an example of what I would be like. I would think like, oh, I could do it my way. And maybe that was like frustrating for teachers because they were like, oh, she has to do it like the Katie way every time. That was just me. I was just like so like, my hand was up for like all the drama roles and like performance, and I was just a bit like extra with stuff. So that was probably infuriating in hindsight for teachers sometimes. I've not changed now. I'm still just like a bit extra with everything.
Isn't it funny people didn't use say extra before like last year?
Yeah, so, well, like, my teachers wouldn't have said it to me like 20 years ago.
Extra. Yeah, what was I like? I was super quiet and just got on with everything. So I just thought like I must have been like a pleasure to teach. Yeah, all my reports were just the same. They were just like, he's so lovely. Thanks for having him. It's great.
Did your reports ever say like should offer more like ideas, or did you still do that?
Yeah, no, I think I really liked school. Like, we never went to uni together, but I'm like in lectures and seminars, I'm just like, I have an idea. I have an idea. And I still do that now. So like, I'm not like really loud, but like,
you're an angel.
I want to just say what I think. I think I'm quite good at like reading the room, so I'm aware like, oh, everyone eye rolls like, oh, it's Ryan again. So I'm like, and then I'll make it funny. Yeah, try and like lighten it up a little bit.
Both of us would have been the kids that you'd probably want in your class. Like there was nothing wrong with having kids like us in your, not that like we want specific children, but it's nice to have like children like, that show their personalities off, and maybe we both did that.
Is there any volunteers? I'm just like, I'll do it.
What profession did you want at that age?
Oh yeah.
And did you end up with the same profession, I guess, that you wanted as a child? What did you want to do? What was your dream?
So I always wanted to be a vet, but mostly because we watched the TV show like Vets in Practice. So I wanted to be a vet, but then I always, in my head, I think it was more the lifestyle that they got to go to university and then train together. And it was a really nice TV show, so they were like, we're all learning together and we're at uni and it's a really nice little campus and things. So I was just more like, I want to get to uni, and I think doing something like a profession like that would get me to uni. Oh, for vets, you need to have super high grades, so you need to be like even higher grades than a doctor, and you need to train for 7 years. Yeah, so I think it was just like, it's definitely
not that great.
Yes, I teaching.
I literally don't think I had a plan. I think genuinely if you'd asked me up to like the age of 10 what I wanted to be, I'd be like, I'm gonna be a Pokemon master. Like my imagination was just too wild. I was probably just thinking like, well, by the time I'm an adult, Pokemon will be real and I'll just travel the world capturing them. Yeah. I think like I just didn't have any concept of like what real jobs were. I think I was just like such a dreamer. Magic's real and video games are real, and I just think I was probably like, I'm gonna go on a pilgrimage. I'm gonna like...
You did.
I know, to Hong Kong. It definitely wouldn't have been teaching, absolutely no way.
I think it is weird, some kids like instantly go like fireman, policeman, and it's like, I wonder how many of those people
follow it through.
Yeah.
I think we've already kind of covered this actually with the advice question, but it's what's something you wish you knew back then that you know now? It would be nice to have known that you'd end up being a teacher, wouldn't it? That would be cool, because you would be sat in class thinking like,
try a bit harder.
One day. Do you ever like visit yourself in the past if you could, if there was like...
And change anything though?
Would you change
But then I think it would alter how you are now.
Ooh. Number 9 we can't technically do yet because it says describe the thumbnail you chose.
Well, we're going to have a rummage round, we're going to find some old photos of us at school. So that's going to be the thumbnail, right?
Yeah, we're at Ryan's family house today because we're filming in Chesterfield while we're in the UK.
Yeah.
So we're going to try and find some photos of Ryan in school. I've definitely got photos of me in school.
Yeah, when I was at school I had the same colour hair as you.
Really?
Yeah, it was super blonde.
Maybe people won't be able to tell who's who.
Actually, yeah, in high school I just had super long hair as well. My hair was like...
Really?
Yeah, I wanted to be in Hanson.
I had my hair cut short because I wanted to look like Hannah from Escort.
I thought you were going to say Hanson as well. You do look a little bit like Hannah.
I'm hot. Who wanted to look like Hanson? Me. I can remember she had this photo in like a magazine where she had short,
cute,
like
yeah,
cropped
like
hair. But I thought I would look really good with it, and like my face was really round, so it looked awful. And my mum was sort of, I think even she was like, wow, oops. But
what's her line in the song? Is it Hannah screaming out for more?
Yeah, that was me. I was Hannah.
You were screaming out for more.
Whatever we choose, like have a laugh. I hope you like our little photos.
Yay.
It's probably
it'd be cute. I think it'd be click worthy.
If you had a student like yourself at that age, how would you reach out to them and support them?
I think I like to just be that person for every teacher. So I'm always like, what's your hobby? I'll try and get into your hobby. And I remember saying to like one dad last year at parents meeting, I was like, I just don't know what your child is into. Like, what do they like? And then we found out they like animals and cats. So then that became our thing. Then we talk about that. So I try and like have that bond with every kid. Whereas I feel like maybe my teachers didn't so much.
We had to create like an electric circuit and it would light up, and you had to wire it up, and then you could cover it with paper and turn it into something. It's like a game. And I remember asking, I was like, oh, can I make it Pokemon? Because you could light up like the Pokemon you've chosen. And the teacher was like, why does it always have to be about Pokemon? No, you should do it on rocks and minerals like this smart child. Like, and I remember thinking like, I was like, because this child was genuinely interested in rocks and minerals and that's what they'd chosen. And I remember thinking like, well, I could, but I would really much prefer, because this learning would be the same because you're still learning, it was a science lesson, so the skills were... It
doesn't really matter what image is on top.
Yeah, and it was only one lesson where you just designed the image to go on top, and it literally made no difference. So if I was a teacher now and that child was like, can I do Pokemon? I probably would eye roll and be like, well, you do that for everything. But I probably would say yes. I would be like, if that's what you want to do, that's fine, because if the kids would want to do it on Minecraft now, they would be like, oh, can it light up for like when you're getting attacked by something? And I would be like, yeah, actually, you know what? If that's going to get you to do your work really well, I'm down for it. So that's what I would do differently.
I think that's kind of where we are skilled as teachers, that we're very much like, we'll get into the kids level, we'll try and make it relevant and interesting for them.
And if like a child's really into something, as long as it still hits your curriculum strands, you can roll with it. I think I remember the first time I realised that I could like base my entire English strand on Wreck-It Ralph, because it had just come out and the children really liked it, and we looked at the thought of a hero and writing like applications for like hero school or something really nice like that. The first time I actually taught that, I felt like a more confident teacher, because every child in the room was like, please like tell me more about this. So do yourself a favour as a teacher and just work with whatever the children are into, I guess.
Okay, so I think that's it. I think we've got through our 10 questions. If you want to do the teacher tag is called Back in the Day Teaching.
All the information about the teacher tag is down in the description box. Thank you to the creators that dreamt it up. We really enjoyed answering the questions.
So let us know what type of teacher you were back in the day. Let us know what kind of kid you were. Were you a great student? Or was there any advice you would give yourself back in the day? And don't forget to leave some comments below and hit subscribe.
Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you next time.